After binging the VHS of the 2007 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, I was highly excited for next year's parade, and once we were in November of 2008, I was getting more and more excited. However, on the day before Thanksgiving, something bad happened to me. I was stuck in bed. I was not grounded, I didn't break a bone. I ended up being sick. And yes, I vomited. So I thought I was going to be better by the next morning. Well, overnight, I vomited again for the second time, meaning I had to miss Thanksgiving, including recording this year's parade. I was worried that I wasn't able to record it because I usually do it in the downstairs TV, so I decided to ask my eldest sister to do it for me, and she did the entire parade. Even the pre-parade acts, even though I ignored them when I was a kid and I did fast forward them. Well, I was watching the telecast through the TV in my parents' room, so yep. I was sick on Thanksgiving Day 2008. Regardless of me being in bed all day and couldn't eat any food, I was still happy to watch the 2008 parade. This year was so significant for two things. One was Macy's added their Believe campaign to the parade, and second, this would be the last time they would use the classic route with Herald Square in front of Broadway Street after 63 years. We've got 23 songs to rank here. This is my ranking of the songs of the 2008 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. At number 23, the one performance that I think had the least impact, mainly because of the group didn't went big, Get Up and Go by the Click Girls. From 2004 to 2009, two sisters, Paris and Destiny Monroe, along with their best friend Ariel Moore, became the Click Girls in 2008. They performed at many events, especially debuting a new single called Get Up and Go in the Macys Parade. The reason I have this at the bottom is mainly because there's no way to find this song in any digital platform, and it feels like more of a parade exclusive. The song itself doesn't really have much of a moral, just girl power, that's it, and being very short at 1 minute and 18 seconds, this group was nearing its final year before disbanding in 2009. Paris and Destiny went on an independent route for their music careers, and they know their power as music artists are on their own. Number 22, Shine by Ashanti. 6 years later, after her first appearance in 2002, Ashanti has made her return to the parade by performing track number 12 of her fifth album, The Declaration, written by her and Diane Warren, Shine. Honestly, I'm agreeing with the critics with this. I really felt mixed with the song on its own. It feels a message is kind of bland of what changes me based on the lyrics, and almost being 4 minutes. Yeah, I just wanted to end the song. For the parade, like Monica's performance in 1998, you could see a security guard stand below Ashanti. I tried to like this song, but with this and Happy, not the Pharrell Williams song, I'm talking about Ashanti's song, probably tells me I cannot be a fan of Ashanti. Well, we'll see how she does from 11 years from now. Number 21, Because You Loved Me by then Cyrus, now Jake Cyrus. Before I begin discussing about the song, I do have to address on what I just said a second ago. This person back then in 2008 was a 16-year-old young girl named Cyrus Pampango. I don't know how to pronounce the last name, I apologize. All the way from the Philippines, well known for her notable cover she did from the songs of Whitney Houston to Celine Dion. This person is now a man named Jake Cyrus. He first came out as a lesbian when he was still a woman in 2013. Then in 2017, he came out as transgender and now goes under the name Jake. So I do support where he is at right now. For this retrospective, I'm going to be judging this parade performance of where he was at the time. This is kind of similar to my personal Oscar lineup of 2010 video I just did when it comes to Elliot Page's role in Inception, since you cannot change the past. So at the time where he was at, he performed the cover of Celine Dion's 1996 hit, the Oscar-nominated song written by Diane Warren, second time mentioning her in this episode, Because You Loved Me from the film Up Close and Personal, and Dion's album Falling Into You. Honestly, I haven't listened to the original version, but this sounds way better on its own, and he had that charisma of his voice at the time. The reason why it is at the bottom of the list is not because of the artist, it is because, like Get Up and Go, this is a Parade exclusive, and it was not even featured on any of his albums at the time. But I will still take Jake's cover over the original one by one of the most overrated music artists of all time. Number 20, About You Now by Miranda Cosgrove. From School of Rock to Drake and Josh to now being leading in the Nickelodeon show iCarly, Miranda Cosgrove covers a song from the iCarly Soundtrack Fan Pack Edition, track number 6, and later her title EP as track number 1, a cover of Sugar Babe's song from the year prior, About You Now. Like Because You Loved Me, I'm only judging on the cover without having listened to the original version. And it's fine. I just don't think it was in the right tone of music, more of a bigger poppy feeling. Although she just turned 30, and one of the few people that did escape from the Dan Schneider curse, as I like to call it, her music career did not move on, but it's still part of her life, and got to be the first out of the 3 Nickelodeon stars to be on the Build-A-Bear Workshop Celebration Clock Tower float. Number 19, Under the Sea by the cast of Broadway's The Little Mermaid. Right now, Disney has released a live-action remake of their 1989 classic The Little Mermaid, the film that started the Disney Renaissance. Before the remake, seeing Ariel in live action came before, including on Broadway, as the cast performs the Oscar-winning song from Act 1, Under the Sea. Let's just get this out of the way. The original version is better. I don't know if it was the tone of this musical or Titus Burgess' version of Sebastian's accent is kind of odd to me. Even some of the costumes, like having big eyes on Titus's head, and Ariel's fins are very odd to me. Yes, it can't be like the ones you see in the Disney parks, but I think it has too much detail. Flounder is fine. Oh, and also having roller heels except for Sebastian. Matt Lauer says Hold Your Breath, which I'm guessing for us is to sing along to, because it is the famous song from the movie, even though there's more, but the execution of the stage adaptation doesn't want me to go, Under the Sea! Number 18, I Stand by Idina Menzel. The 2 stars of the Broadway musical Wicked came back in 2008 for their second and third parade, respectively. The first that appeared in the parade order is the original Elphaba, Idina Menzel on her second parade, because I did check she wasn't in the 96 parade with the cast of Broadway's Rent, performs the first track of her third studio album, the title song, I Stand. You basically take some of the notable numbers of her career and you put them together as an song. Idina's voice is so powerful here, but the lyrics is more of the typical stand-up-for-yourself song, even if you need help. As much as we all love Elsa before she became Elsa, I don't know if the sky is heaven, but I pray for her anyway to get the role of the Snow Queen herself, as we are still in 2008. Number 17, The Christmas Waltz by Kristin Chenoweth. The other Wicked star was the original Glinda. Kristin Chenoweth, for her third parade, is doing a Christmas rendition of the Christmas Waltz from her third and first Christmas album, A Lovely Way to Spend Christmas, as track number 3. I will admit, I kind of have a bit of appreciation of this rendition, more on the Christmas feeling and how Santa is about to arrive pretty soon, but I keep thinking this song is long, probably because of that instrumental part in the middle. And her voice does really feels that Christmas spirit with this song, and going from Wicked to Oklahoma, the song in 2005, and now A Christmas Waltz, I will be on the side with the Care Bears that the Good Witch of the North takes the win here over the Wicked Witch of the West. Number 16, Aquarius by the cast of Broadway's Hair. Throughout 2007 and 2008, a stage production of the musical Hair was played at the Public Theater in Central Park to honor the 40th anniversary of the rock musical. It It went so big that it eventually was planning to come back on Broadway at the Al Hirschfeld Theater for a third revival in March 2009. While the revival was in production, the cast that were in the show got to be in the parade as they performed the opening number, Aquarius. Like All Shook Up back in 2004, this revival of Hair did not have a cast recording album yet, so I can't judge it by comparing to what we hear in the parade. Also, some of the cast that you see here did not perform in the Broadway revival later on, most notably the lead vocalist of the number, Patina Miller. More about that in the next episode. As much as I enjoy this song, revisiting it now, it is in a faster tone. Then again, they were not in a pre-parade act and can only rely on 1 minute and 38 seconds. Also, I would have loved to see the top of the History Channel float to go into flames like they did last year, and I was excited to see that they were ending it, but it just ended up with the gong sound instead. Number 15. Happy Holiday and I've Got My Love to Keep Me Warm by the cast of Broadway's Irving Berlin's White Christmas. After touring across the country, the musical Irving Berlin's White Christmas finally comes to Broadway, and the cast of the Broadway version performs 2 of the songs, the opening and closing numbers, Happy Holiday and I've Got My Love to Keep Me Warm. Comparing to the one from the US tour cast in the 2006 parade, I will say the Broadway version is better in terms of the parade performance, but the song in general, it is the US tour because it's such in a faster tone. Well, this one goes in a little slower, but not by much. Also, the tap dancing felt odd to me, even though they are tapping on the road. And unlike the tour, you can't get a Broadway cast recording album of this one specifically. I know the 2006 says it's Broadway, when in actuality, it's not. Number 14. Songs by the cast of Sesame Street and Long Long. Something we have not seen in the Macys Parade is another performer joining the cast of Sesame Street, and that was pianist Long Long, who actually appeared on the show, mainly trying to be on Oscar's Grouch's Symphony Orchestra, as they performed the 1978 song called Songs. When it comes to the entire cast all singing it together, it does well for the show, but not in the parade. Just specifically singing the entire song all at once, and it kind of gives me that vibes of that from their times performing from the 1994 parade all the way up to the 2000 parade. That's what this performance kind of does. And you know for a fact Long Long wasn't really playing the piano, not just because he wasn't looking down at the keys, which I'm guessing was a wooden piano, but a bad sync fail right at the start. I actually didn't have a cold when I was sick. I just had to blow my nose right now. Number 13. It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year by Andy Williams. Originally, the legendary Andy Williams and the students of Cap 21 were supposed to be in between Miranda Cosgrove and Kristen Chenoweth in the celebrity roster of the parade order, on the return of the Sand Atlantic Express float in celebration of Macy's 150th anniversary. But this would be the second year in the entirety of the float's history, and the most common float to break down en route, as it had a technical malfunction at Times Square. The train would be moving again until the very end, right behind Santa. So, Andy Williams did not appear until after the original Last Celebrities performance, and he became the last celeb roster unofficially by performing his 1963 classic, track number 4 of the Andy Williams Christmas album, It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year. This song is actually my number 2 Christmas song of all time. Heck, I even have it as my ringtone from December 1st all the way up to the last day of the Christmas season on my phone. And very easy to remember the lyrics to, but the parade performance, I don't know how better it would be if the train did not break down. I mean, I was kind of confused when I first saw this, and rewatching it several times on tape, but now understanding it why in 2023. Now, revisiting this years later, I don't know if it's the choreography or it's obvious it is the original audio of the song. I know Andy was 80 at the time, but could he have just re-recorded it for that occasion? I would have said it was a great conclusion to the song roster of a legend like him at the celebrity roster at first glance, but the train issue made me think of a certain amphibian creature had a better ending. Number 12, Future Love by Varsity Fan Club. Like the Click Girls, another band that was in the parade that was short-lived from 2007 to 2013, 5 guys from LA called themselves Varsity Fan Club, as they performed the first big major hit, their single EP that would be later a self-titled album as track number 2, Future Love. Like Put Your Arms Around Me from Natural back in 2002, Future Love is a very underrated boy band song, and it does have that 2000s feeling of me being in the 2000s with a catchy main verse of the song. I will say the single release and the album versions are so different, so if you want to go with the one that was in the parade, it would be the single EP release. Number 11, America the Beautiful by James Taylor. Starting up the celebrity roster in the parade, if you don't count the Smurfs, is the legendary James Taylor. Does an exclusive serenade performance, as Meredith Vieira said it for this occasion, America the Beautiful. No pun intended, what a beautiful start to the celebrity roster, and since I usually fast forward the pre-parade acts, I go to this song first when it comes to the song roster of 2008. A calmer, relaxing version of this traditional song. We are in a day we don't have to be super hyped for, unless if you're a parade fan, as Thanksgiving is a day about family and giving thanks, unless if you're stuck in bed that day. And him on the new Ocean Spray float really told us about the joyous day of Thanksgiving with his incomparable voice. Number 10, In the Heights by the cast of Broadway's In the Heights featuring Lin-Manuel Miranda. Starting up the song roster of 2008 comes the Tony Award winner for Best Musical that had a unique tone when it comes to the music, with a hip-hop style of songs written and composed and starring a man who would later become an A-list celebrity with a show called Hamilton, Lin-Manuel Miranda with his first musical that would be the opening number they performed, the title musical, In the Heights. I am really familiar with the song, especially the first portion of the song, but I know it's 7.5 minutes, kind of long, but not too slow. I will say the parade performance wasn't great. I understand you can't do the opening number for 7 minutes, but I felt like it was kind of unorganized. And I think Miranda added a Thanksgiving part, but I can't tell, but I believe he did. However, he and the cast are having a great time, especially how the setting felt like how busy the place that Usnavi, Miranda's character, lives and works at. Number 9, Crush by David Archuleta. Instead of having the winner of American Idol Season 7, David Cook, it was the runner-up and fan favorite David Archuleta performs his debut single that would be his self-titled debut album, track number 1, Crush. His debut album was very mixed, but Crush was positive, as the song is basically the feeling you get for that someone you really love, but doesn't say it out loud, more of that on the music video. It is kind of difficult to remember some of the lyrics, especially the main verse of the song, and the parade performance was only the first part of the song. Could have done a little more like the end portion of the song. But at least the tradition continued and ended that the Season 3 catch of Fetch with Rough Men, mainly specifically Sam and the winner of that season, Jay, did have a good time with the song. Number 8, Cover Girl by Pushplay. Another band that has short-lived from 2005 to 2012. Long Island band Pushplay plan to release their third and last album, Found, next year. And already one of their songs from the album came out first as a single release that would become track number 6, Cover Girl. A concept song about a girl in a magazine that you fell all in love with, that you want to meet who the model is. And I will admit, a little bit happened to me, but just looking at it, when I did that for the first time, I kind of gave it up right away, because it's nothing really to do with that. I only remember the song portion that was used in the parade, but I also do know the verse, specifically the second set, and it is a fast-paced song. Only thing is how it maybe be dated for the song, because not a lot of people uses magazines anymore, unless for deals or something else, or you're an obsessive collector, especially Nick magazines, and you can get in the mail, of course, or because everyone was wondering during the parade's broadcast what happened to the Keith Haring heart balloon getting close to the NBC booth to see if the hosts were fine, as it happened before the band's performance. Number 7. TShirt by Chantel. Barbarian native Chantel Lane became a new artist that year with her debut album, Chantelligence, which was released this month and performed her debut song, track number 1 that got a single release months prior, TShirt. Both the song and the album have received mixed reviews by critics, but I do like it. Although it's kind of hard to understand the lyrics, because when I thought it was your t-shirt on, but it's cha t-shirt on. Yes, cha t-shirt on. However, the tone of the song really works well on how much the woman would miss her partner, so wearing just one of their t-shirts instead. I really wish the parade performance was a bit longer, like having the second set of the lyrics to add to. And I will like to say, just for her appearance, and she was 23 at the time, which I am right now, she looked so hot at the time. Oh my gosh. Wow. Number 6. I Thought I Lost You from Bolt by Miley Cyrus. 6 days ago, kind of coincidence we're in number 6, Walt Disney Animation Studios released their 48th animated feature, Bolt, starring John Travolta and Hannah Montana star Miley Cyrus. The latter not only got to be in her second parade, but also co-wrote and performed the credits song, which is track number 1 of the film's soundtrack, I Thought I Lost You. I have to ask, why was the song not nominated for an Oscar for original song? Because it is a great song. The connection between Miley and Travolta performing the song worked so well. Speaking of which, since it's only Miley singing here, it is hard to have a duo celeb performance of the same song to be both available for the parade. So only Miley's opening part was used, and I think they edited out Travolta's part, where they did the main verse together, because they both do it. So I'm guessing it was just kind of the backing vocals we heard. Also, more security guards presence around the boat float than Ashanti did. And another thing people notice is that Miley and Miranda Cosgrove were both wearing the same style coats and gloves. I remember this because I saw it in a magazine. Number 5. It Won't Be Like This for Long by Darius Rucker. The former lead singer of Hootie and the Blowfish, Darius Rucker, went on a solo career with his second solo album, Learn to Live, with track number 8 he would perform that got a single release earlier this month, It Won't Be Like This for Long. Although there were some favorable reviews on the album, the song itself did not get good reviews, especially by comparing to another song about parents observing their daughters growing up, which is something we'll get to. But it doesn't deserve the hate, as it is on the parents' perspective, and Darius' voice and the instruments used is a sadder tone, and you know for a fact you're not going to have your child for that long as they are growing up. Only thing is that the parade performance could have been a little bit longer, once again, and Darius should have been playing the guitar he was holding. And even though there was a drum set, there is no way a piano was part of the actual song itself. Number 4. There Is Nothin Like a Dame by the cast of Broadway's South Pacific. The Rodgers and Hammerstein's 1949 classic South Pacific returns to Broadway for its first ever revival, featuring some notable stars like Kelly O'Hara and Matthew Morrison, and won the Tony Award for Best Revival of a Musical. But today, it is Danny Bernstein as the C.B. Luther Billis and his fellow Seabees, Marines, and sailors, all performing the 5th song of Act 1 for their loved by all women, especially the nurses, There Is Nothin Like a Dame. I am a huge fan of this number, and I love singing the lyrics of the song, although I don't know if Danny's voice for Luther didn't fit in the number. Then again, this is the only song I know about this entire musical. The parade performance did miss a set of lyrics from the middle and just went to the ending, and they did re-record this from what I'm hearing for this song for the parade only, comparing to the cast recording album. There ain't a thing that's wrong with any man here that can't be cured by putting him near the best Broadway performance of 2008. Number 3, You're Gonna Miss This by Trace Adkins. So, what song that It Won't Be Like This for Long kind of copied from? What the critics had said? Well, it is this one from Trace Adkins' compilation and 9th album from the end of last year, American Man Greatest Hits Volume 2. Two of the songs were not released and made their debut in this album. One of them being track number 3 that got a single release in the beginning of this year that would become one of Trace Adkins' greatest songs ever, especially being number 1 on Billboard's Top 100 Country, You're Gonna Miss This. The reason why Adkins and Rucker's songs are so similar is because one of the writers for both songs was Ashley Gorley. Although they are both good in one way, shape, or form, I think this is better. Not because it came first, but I think the tone in Adkins' voice works so well, and this you focus more on the daughter instead of the parents, especially what would happen with her future. And once again, I've said this many times I think for this episode already, they should have added another set of lyrics to the song. Instead of making it short, between Adkins and Rucker, Adkins takes the win. Number 2. I Believe by Kermit the Frog and Camp Broadway. Before Andy Williams became the last unofficial celebrity of the 2008 roster, it was originally the most famous amphibian of the Muppets, Kermit the Frog, performs with the kids of Camp Broadway, an original song co-written by William Skimmerhorn. This year was the beginning of what Macy's would have their iconic campaign Believe during their holiday season. To be used as an iconic for the parade for the first time, what better way to have a new song wrote for that occasion called I Believe? Unlike Believe from the Polar Express, which I say it's better, this one clearly tells you that you should believe in Santa Claus. I want to say, like many of us out there, I miss Steve Whitmire being the man behind Kermit, especially how Disney treated him at the end, because his voice is the modern Kermit. His charisma to keep Jim Henson's legacy was still there after his death in 1990, and even if it was not Henson himself performing this, you can feel it felt like Henson was performing this song. And Camp Broadway being his backing vocals was a great choice. I was ashamed that they could have done a proper conclusion to the celebrity roster if that train did not break down, especially Kermit saying at the end,
Happy Thanksgiving, Santa.
Only thing is, you cannot get this version on Skimmerhorn's SoundCloud page. Why I say this version is that this is not the end of this song of the parade, and definitely this brought a highlight to the 2008 parade. That could have been number 1 if it wasn't for this highlight would be my number 1 for the 2008 parade, Best Friend and Never Gonna Give You Up, or as I call it, the Best Friend Rickroll by the cast of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends and Rick Ashley. If you know your YouTube history, the biggest thing that came out of 2008 was the April Fool's phenomenon Rickrolling, where you click on a video or a random link that somebody told you what was about. Instead, you ended up in the music video of Rick Ashley's 1987 classic, the first song of his album Whenever You Need Somebody, that would become, if not his most famous song ever, Never Gonna Give You Up. And on Thanksgiving Day 2008, his name was mentioned in the beginning that you probably did not know what he was performing and what float he was at unless you actually were there in person. So when the Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends float came to Herald Square, Matt Lauer gave us a warning.
The Foster pals sing You're My Best Friend, but watch carefully, we hear there is a special musical surprise.
So then Blue and the gang were starting to sing the theme song to the show, the countership of Eddie Father's Harry Nilsson song Best Friend, and then all of a sudden the record scratched, and then the song came up, and walking to the front of the flow from the back, Rick Ashley, in person, comes to perform his Rickrolling hit. Yes, that's right, people. For those who were watching the parade live on television like I did when I was sick in bed, or at Herald Square in person, back in 2008, Macy's at NBC Rickrolled ya. When I saw this live in bed, I was like, did NBC just didn't want Blue not to sing, or they couldn't put Rick Ashley on another float? And I still did not know what Rickrolling was until a few years later. But it was like Blue and kind of disappointed to hear the cast got disrespected for not finishing their performance. Now it's the opposite, because the 80s song's a classic, now becomes a classic meme. I will say now it kind of does get annoying hearing on radio stations that plays 80s music or 80s to now. But listening to it, if you haven't heard it in a while, I love it. And the parade performance did so well, or they should have done more of the ending. I'm talking about the never gonna give part of the song. The reason why it's number one song of the 2008 parade is because it gave us the moment of that year, but also one of the greatest moments in the parade's history. Even when the first video of the Rick Warren part of the parade got on YouTube, it gained over 1 million views, or viral if you want to talk about the old days of YouTube. As Cheese says it best, I like Rick rolling! Marks the best song of 2008. And I think that means Thanksgiving 2008 came to an end, so I'm now better from the following day. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this episode, you can hit that subscribe button and comment down below your personal ranking of these 23 songs. Next episode, we will be going into the end of the 2000s decade, as we have a bit of a change in the route and return to the original Herald Square. Yes, we return to the Miracle on 34th Street with 2009.